उनको रिजर्वेशन नहीं मिला 1991 तक, लेकिन शेड्यूल कास्ट कन्वर्टेड टू सिखिज्म 1950 में उनको शुरू में ही रिजर्वेशन मिला है। उसका कुछ अलग अलग पहलू थे, उसके बारे में मैं जिक्र नहीं करूंगा, लेकिन मास्टर तारा सिंह ने कहा कि जो सिखिज्म में शेड्यूल कास्ट है उनको रिजर्वेशन मिलना चाहिए। तो ये जो कन्वर्जन के बाद जो परिवर्तन हुआ, वो स्थिति हुई शेड्यूल कास्ट की, इसके ऊपर हम चर्चा करने के लिए आज कर रहे हैं। और हमने सोचा कि प्रोफेसर रोनकी राम जो है चंडीगढ़ यूनिवर्सिटी डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस में, वो कई सालों से पढ़ा रहे हैं और वो इस इशू पे लिख रहे हैं, लगातार लिख रहे हैं। और वो इशू ऑफ एक्सक्लूजन इंटीग्रेशन इसी पे तो लिख ही रहे हैं, लेकिन जो मूवमेंट शेड्यूल कास्ट में चली डेरा के रूप में और जो प्रयास हुए हैं, उसके बारे में उनका लिखान और उनकी समझ है, उसके ऊपर उन्होंने काफी लिखा हुआ है। तो इसलिए हमने सोचा कि प्रोफेसर रोनकी राम को हम कहे कि वो बोले। मैंने उनसे कांटेक्ट किया, जानते हैं, वो हमारे दोस्त है बहुत सालों से। उन्होंने इसके ऊपर तुरंत वो राजी हुए। प्रोफेसर रोनकी राम, आई एम रियली थैंकफुल टू यू फॉर एग्रीइंग टू शेयर योर व्यूज ऑन दिस। With this introduction, I will pass on this organization to Vidya Chorpagar, who will ask somebody, I think probably to introduce Dr. Ronki Ram, and then ask Ronki Ram to start his discussion.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Professor Anita Tirpude, Madam, to introduce today's guest speaker.
Yeah. Good evening to all the dignitaries and respected participants. The Association for Social and Economic Equality has organized a webinar on scheduled caste, sex, and issues of social exclusion and integration in Punjab. And on this occasion, the association has given me the opportunity to introduce the guest, Professor Ronki Ram. Thanks to the association for such a wonderful opportunity. Talking about Ronki Ram, Professor Ronki Ram. He is currently Shahdeed Bhagat Singh Chair Professor of Political Science at Punjab University, Chandigarh. He is visiting professor at the University of Wolverhampton, UK, and University of Ladakh, India. He also serves as Dean Faculty of Arts, Punjab University. He is a member of State Higher Education Council, Chandigarh. He is a member of CNIP of Punjab University and NIPA Mohali. He is Honorable Director of ICSSR and WRC Chandigarh, member of INCCU with UNESCO, ICCR Chairperson University, the Netherlands and Royal Co. and Kyoto, Japan. He has published extensively on social mobility and identity politics in books chapters, and international peer-reviewed journals like Modern Asian Studies, Journal of Asian Studies, Asian Survey, Contribution to Indian Sociology, Journal of Sikhs and Punjab Studies, and South Asian Survey, Contemporary Voice of Dalit, EPW, and among others. There is a lot more to tell about sir, but due to the limitation of time, I have tried to introduce her in brief. With this brief introduction, I would like to invite Professor Ronki Ram to please deliver his speech. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Thorat, for giving me the opportunity. आप सभी के साथ अपनी बात शेयर करने के लिए. Professor Thorat, I know him from the days of JNU and learned many things from him. His extensive work on social mobility, his work on different dimensions relating to inclusion and various issues, which especially are particularly they are about exclusion. Professor Thorat asked me to speak in Hindi. Many participants who are joining from different parts, so they may be comfortable. So I will do one thing. In between, I would come down to English when I find some terms, some concepts are difficult to say in Hindi, then I'll talk in English, but mostly मैं आपके साथ हिंदी में ही बात करूँगा, जैसे कि प्रोफेसर जी ने शुरू किया था।
इसमें कुछ एक दो लोगों ने तमिलनाडु के रिक्वेस्ट की कि आपके भाषण को फिर इंग्लिश में थोड़ा समराइज करें, तो हम आखिरी में करेंगे या आप भी कर दीजिएगा 1 2 3 4 पॉइंट भाषण खत्म हो जाने के बाद। We have a lot of time, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं इसमें।
Okay. In between, I will also be talking in English, so that nothing would be left which is not there for their understanding. I would like to do it. So I would like to इस लेक्चर को 3 भाग में I would like to divide it so that you will get the main idea of scheduled caste issues of their exclusion and integration in the Sikh, traditions in Punjab. How we can find it? Number one, we would like to talk Punjab के बारे में थोड़ा सा आपको मैं बताना चाहूँगा, so that you would be comfortable to understand what issues are there. एक बात तो शुरू में मैं जिसके ऊपर एम्फेसाइज करना चाहूँगा वो ये है कि अगर हम छुआछूत को, अनटचेबिलिटी को समझने की कोशिश करेंगे तो ऐसा पूरा इंडिया लेवल पे एट द नेशनल लेवल देयर इज नॉट ए यूनिफाइड यूनिलिनियर स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी, सो इट वेरीज from region to region. इसलिए if you want to have an understanding कि हिंदी बेल्ट में छुआछूत का कैसे स्ट्रक्चर रहा है, उसका कैसे रूपरेखा रहा है, और in the border areas of जो हमारा एरियाज है पंजाब, because it is a bordering पाकिस्तान एरिया, 455 किलोमीटर जो एरिया है, ज़्यादा है, उससे भी ज़्यादा है, like that. And secondly, this region has its historically specific, another background. उसको भी समझने की कोशिश है. So let's first talk about Punjab as a region. Then I will come down to scheduled caste in Punjab. Then I will come down to the question of exclusion, social exclusion, and integration. That would be in a way will make some sense to you. So when we talk about Punjab, we are not only talking about Punjab in today's context, which is a post-1966 Punjab. ये 1966 का इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि भारत में और राज्यों में लैंग्वेज के आधार पे जो रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन हुआ था, पंजाब में वो लेट हुआ. वो पंजाब में 1966 में हुआ, काफी एजिटेशन के बाद. तो उसे जो पंजाब उनमें से निकला 1966 में, उसे कहते हैं रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन एक्ट ऑफ पंजाब. तो वो पंजाब है जो अब की बात कर रहे हैं. लेकिन इसको समझने के लिए we have to look at a Punjab which was there from 1947 to 1966. लेकिन उससे भी पहले जो 1947 से पहले था. तो जो पंजाब का हम बात कर रहे हैं उस रीजन की, वो पंजाब जो है वो 2 रिवर्स के बीच में बहुत सारा विशाल एरिया है. ऐसे तो पंजाब जो रीजन का नाम है, प्रोविंस का नाम है, वो पंजाब इसलिए है कि 5 आब है, यहाँ पर 5 रिवर्स है. लेकिन ये जो पंजाब की मैं आपसे बात अभी करने जा रहा हूँ एक विदिन फ्यू सेकंड, वो लार्जर है. वो है पंजाब बिटवीन सिंधु रिवर एंड जमुना रिवर. ये जो बिफोर पार्टीशन था, तो एक तो पार्टीशन हुआ 1947 में, दूसरा रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन हुआ 1966 में. थोड़ा सा इसको पूरे को समझने के लिए हमें एक पंजाब की बात करनी है. वो पंजाब जो 1947 का पहले का पंजाब है, जो सिंधु रिवर से लेकर जमुना तक फैल जाता है. बहुत ही विशाल एरिया है, जिसमें करंट जो पाकिस्तान में वेस्ट पंजाब है, जो जिसे हम पश्चिमी पंजाब कहते हैं, और जिसे हम पूर्वी पंजाब कहते हैं, हमारा ईस्ट एंड वेस्ट पंजाब जो है, वो मिलाकर पूरा एक रीजन है जो बहुत विशाल रीजन है. ये जो पंजाब था, ये पंजाब की एक खासियत ये रही है कि ये पंजाब एक विंडो रहा है। जो भी बाहर से इंडिया पे, भारत पे हमला करने आया है, जिसने भी जहां पर आके अपना राज जमाया है, स्पेशली ये जो हम देख रहे थे मुगल्स का, चाहे वो शख्स है, हुन्स है, वो सभी के सभी, वो जो खैबर का रीजन है जो अफगानिस्तान के साथ का रास्ता था, उसी रास्ते से लैंड रूट से वो जहां पर आए। ठीक है, वास्को डी गामा की बात करते हैं, वो एक साउथ इंडिया की तरफ से था, लेकिन जो मेजर जहां से गए हैं वो इसी इलाके से आए। तो ये जो इलाका था, इस इलाके में जो लोग थे वो, क्योंकि ज्यादा तौर पे वहां पर इतनी ज्यादा माइग्रेशन, इन माइग्रेशन, आउट माइग्रेशन रही है, मतलब पंजाब से माइग्रेशन बाहर तो फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद ही शुरू हुई है। थोड़ा सा उससे पहले था, जब ये इंडेंचर्ड लेबर की बात थी, जहाँ फिर वो कनकी लेबर की बात थी, जो आप समझते हैं, तो उसमें ज्यादा पंजाब से फिर भी इतना नहीं था। इट वाज ओनली आफ्टर द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के बाद रहा है, लेकिन पंजाब में से 1900 में से लोग शुरू हो गए थे बाहर जाना। लेकिन जहां पर लोग आए थे बहुत ज्यादा, उसके साथ जहां की जो स्ट्रक्चर थी, जहां की जो सोशल एंड पॉलिटिकल जो नो डायमेंशंस थी, वो काफी तरह से एक सिंक्रेटिक थी। जहां पर इस्लाम भी था, जहां पर 15th सेंचुरी ऑनवर्ड्स सिख न्यू फिलोसफी एंड न्यू रिलीजन, ए न्यू सोसाइटी जो इमर्ज हुई, विच इज द यंगेस्ट रिलीजन इन द वर्ल्ड, वो रही। जहां पर सूफिया जो सूफी ट्रेडिशन थी, उसकी जो शुरुआत होती है भारत में, वो पंजाब से ही शुरुआत होती है। मीनुद्दीन चिश्ती साहब के साथ जो चिश्तिया स्कूल ऑफ थॉट है, चिश्तिया सिलसिला है, और सिलसिले हैं जैसे कि नक्शाबंदिया है, और वी फाइंड इट सोरावर्दिया है, ये हमारे पास डिफरेंट सिलसिले और भी है, दारी सिलसिला है। सो वी फाइंड इट कि ये जो रहा है उसमें भी एक बहुत ज्यादा तौर पे जहां पर चेंजेस आई थी इन टर्म्स ऑफ इवन भक्ति ट्रेडिशन भी जहां पर एक रही है। चाहे वो भक्ति सेंट जो थे वो डिफरेंट पार्ट से ही आए हो, जैसे कि नामदेव जी आपके इलाके से जो थे, वो कहते महाराष्ट्र से, वो जहां पर आए के उनकी जहाँ धरती को अपनी धरती बनाया, यही रहे वो एंड तक। और वी फाइंड इट रैदास जो यूपी को बिलोंग करते थे, पंजाब के साथ बहुत ही नजदीक का नाता रहा है, वी फाइंड इट। सो द ट्रेडिशन ये जो रही वो एक सिंक्रेटिक कल्चर बना। तो ये माना जाता है कि इसमें पंजाब में 1000 years इस्लाम का रूल रहा है। Before the British started established their rule in 1849, after in fact after 1839, the death of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who established Sikh Raj in Punjab. Within 10 years of his demise, the Britishers, they were able to, otherwise they were there in the other princely states. They were getting support from them beyond Satluj, towards Ludhiana, to that side, Cis Satluj. But mostly, this Punjab was not Maharaja Ranjit Singh's Punjab toward the other side of the Satluj, opposite to the Ludhiana, till Lahore, was Punjab, which was independent Punjab. So British were able to control it only after 1849. So it was a place where we find that caste could not take its roots much deeply. लेकिन एक बात जो मैं आपसे शेयर करना चाहूंगा वो ये भी है, even before that, from the Mughals coming to Punjab, from the Sultanate, coming to India, then having an impact on Punjab. उससे पहले भी इन mythical literature में भी ये बात आती है। अगर उसको कुछ साइंटिस्ट ये मानते हैं, कुछ सोशल साइंटिस्ट कहते हैं नहीं, ये mythical नहीं है, हमारा इंडिया में जो इतिहास है वो रिटन फॉर्म में नहीं है, वो ओरल फॉर्म में है, इसलिए वो महाभारत की बात करते हैं। तब भी पंजाब के बारे में बात होती थी कि पंजाब में जो जाति व्यवस्था है उसका कोई उतना डीप जो है इम्पैक्ट नहीं है, इसलिए पंजाब में से ये माना जाता था कि आप शाम तक वापस आ जाना, वहां रहना नहीं, कि वहां पर लोग धर्म उस तरह के धर्म की बात नहीं करते जितनी की हिंदी बेल्ट की बात होती थी, जहाँ हस्तनापुर की बात होती थी। उस वक्त हिंदी बेल्ट का कहना अभी आज की टर्मिनोलॉजी में तो उचित नहीं होगा, वो उस रीजन की बात हम कहते हैं। तो ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग ये रही कि what I'm trying to say that Punjab before 1947, that Punjab was a very large region, and that large region has a distinction of multicultural, multi-religious, multilingual, कि जहाँ पर ज़्यादा तौर पे पर्शियन रही है before the English, start becoming the court language. It was Persian. Punjabi नहीं रह पाई even during the Maharaja Ranjit Singh's time. Punjabi, although it was a Gurumukhi, it has evolved out of the, from the जैसे कहते हैं from the mouth of the gurus. Gurumukhi, Mukh means the mouth. Guru means the master. उनने बनाई भाषा. So that was an important thing to understand. A culture of exclusion कैसे रही and culture of inclusion कैसे रही. ये जो मैंने बात की आपके साथ इस पंजाब की, इसमें मैंने एक हिंट दिया था सूफी कल्चर, भक्ति कल्चर एंड गुरु साहिबान कल्चर, सिख ट्रेडिशंस कल्चर. ये सभी के सभी जो कल्चर दे रही है वो एक इंसान को इंसान के साथ जोड़ने की बात हुई है इस रीजन में. स्पेशली ये जो सिख फिलॉसफी है, सिख रिलीजन है, वो दो जो पोस्टुलेट्स हैं जिसके ऊपर वो इर्द गिर्द घूमता. एक इक्वालिटी of all human beings, no place per caste. Second, gender equality and respect to the women. So that means कि इस region में before Guru Nanak, started, a movement for this equality, social justice and equality. There was, exclusion to a very, very large extent on the basis of caste. Even among the Islam, Sayyid ऊपर मानी जाती थी. Though in Islam, in doctrinal Islam, exclusion की बात नहीं है. सभी को वो उस खुदा का ही मानते हैं, लेकिन वहां पर थी there was a difference. दूसरा एक औरत की जो बराबर की बात नहीं थी. तो बाबा नानक and his house, जैसे कहते हैं up till 10th master, इसलिए 10th master के बाद जो गुरु का कंसेप्ट है वो एक शब्द गुरु में आ जाता है इन द फॉर्म ऑफ श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब. After that, after 10th master, we won't have a masters in the form of a human, physical form, but in a shabd, in the word, which is a Guru Granth Sahib. So now they try to talk about this equality ki baat hai. Even Sufis, they did talk about. जहाँ ते तेरी पुछड़ी नहीं ते अमला दे होंगे नवेड़े. This is the Punjabi. Nobody will ask your caste. There would be, your fate would be decided in the court of the Almighty on the basis of, your deeds. So that was again there. So there, even in the Bhakti tradition also, they try to talk about, equality. That proves there was exclusion, which all the, all the traditions which I'm talking about, चाहे वो सूफियाना, चाहे वो भक्ति, चाहे वो tradition है या Sikh falsafa and Sikh siddhant. So they were trying to, make the society integrated, make it a, as Professor Thorat has rightly, put in the title, the integration has happened. So this played a great role to a large extent. But nevertheless, we find it, we had a partition in 1947. That was a partition on the basis of religion. We did not integrate. Two religions they fought. So it was a different story. Professor Thorat would organize another lecture on this, how partition happened, what happened to scheduled caste, and how their life after that, within India and Pakistan, what sort of difficulties, what sort of changes they faced. Though few PhDs were done on the displaced scheduled caste from that part of the, and still when I was there in Lahore twice, thrice, I find that there's a lot of discussion going on the scheduled caste. They have also their own scheduled caste, federation. They talk about the issues of the minorities, which is scheduled caste in Pakistan. But it was very much there. Lekin after 1947, we got, a Punjab, East Punjab. That was also, there was also some part which is called PEPSU, Patiala and East Punjab, state union. So we find it that its total region, in this region, we find before partition, Muslims were in the majority in this region. And after partition, we find it that the equation has changed. There are not many articles by Professor Gosal, Professor Krishan Gopal, studies are there which try to talk about the demographics of this region and the question of caste. After the partition, we find that Hindus who were in a minority before partition, they become majority community, and the and Muslims, they became they were majority here. After the partition, there was a mass exodus, so they shifted to to Pakistan side, to West Punjab. So that was the region that the number of Hindus who came from, and the Sikhs from that region came from here. According to some statistics, the total population of the Sikhs in before 1947 was between 12 to 14%. In some statistics called 12%, 12.5%, 14.7%. They are there. I have data with me, but I will not go to all those things, technicalities, because this is all available. You can see Sikh population in Punjab 1947 to get data on the Google. You'll find different studies. But one thing is, I want to make it clear that caste was very much there before partition, after partition, after reorganization 1966. Now I will spend few minutes on 1966. After 1966, the equation of religion-based population demography totally changed. After 1966, Punjab became a Sikh majority state and Hindu minority states. Two states are in India where Hindus are minority, Jammu and Kashmir, especially the Valley, and Punjab. And here we find Sikhs are in majority, 62%, but now the data shows that 57. It remains between 57 to 62, like that, and Hindu between 35 to 38, because every 10 years you find changes. Again, you can, if you want exact figures, then you must visit, different statistics, in order to take it. When I write it, I take very much particular to all these figures, but now, if in my talk, if I try to go into nitty-gritty details of that, the time is not permanent, because Professor Thorat gave me 1 hour. I know it that within 1 hour, I have to talk so many things. I have to make a context, which is very much important. So now after 1966, we find that Punjab became a majority Sikh state. Now, we find that a lot of conversion has taken place in this Punjab, which was from Sindhu River to Jamuna region. Who were the persons who converted in this region? Professor Thorat talked about exclusion. He talked in his initial remark about integration. Here, conversion was integration. It was one of the mode of one vehicle of integration. It was a vehicle of social mobility. Why? It happened. There was no doubt conversion by the blade of sword, but that was mostly talked about. But it was not talked about that there was a conversion, because many people of this region, which was from that region, from the Khyber to Jamuna region, they were feeling of inequality, exclusion, Shudshat, and they wanted to convert to that religion where they find any egalitarian religion, where they find a place of respect, a dignity, a space where they find a new sphere where they see that they are respected as human beings. So that occurred with the Sufi traditions toward Islam. So many people who converted to Islam, they come from the lower caste and lowest caste. When I talk about lower caste and the lowest caste, I'm talking about Shudra and Phule's concept, Ati Shudra. Who were the untouchables and who were the Shudras? Baba Sahib's, Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar's 2 separate volumes, you can find it, Shudras and untouchables. You see? So the only difference between Shudra and Ati Shudra is that the Shudras are not condemned to live separately. They live, within the larger dominant and upper caste communities. Whereas the Ati Shudras, they live separately. So this is a whole India phenomenon. Understand? The dimensions of exclusion varies, but certain features of social exclusion are common. One of the common principles or the features of social exclusion are the separate, segregated colonies for the scheduled caste, which are called by different names at different period of time: Perias, Asprustas, Atishudras, Dhed, So they are talked Avarnas, Namashudras, Harijans, depressed classes during the British time. Then the scheduled caste from 1935 onwards. Ur and Cheri are the places in South India. Ur is a mainstream living space where the dominant caste and the Shudras live. And the Cheri, and in Punjabi, in our region, we call, Dalt Tolas, Dalt Baras, Shudra Bara, Shudra, they talk about, or here we talk about Chamarlis, Thatis, and Vedas in Punjab. So that shows that exclusion, trend of exclusion. So in Sikhism, Baba Nanak talked about, and the 10th master laws, Mans ki jaat sab ek pehchan, equality. The question of equality was very much there within Sikhism. It started, आपसे एक बात और बीच में मैं शेयर करनी चाहूंगा, which is very important. पंजाब एक ऐसी जगह है, पंजाब एक ऐसा क्षेत्र है, पंजाब एक ऐसा प्रोविंस है, एक ऐसा सूबा है, एक ऐसा स्टेट है जहां पर शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट जो पॉपुलेशन है वो इन कंपैरिजन टू रेस्ट ऑफ द स्टेट्स इज द हाईएस्ट कंसंट्रेटेड और अबाउट 32%. मे बी 2021 डाटा जब आ जाएगा तो ज्यादा होगी. एग्जैक्ट फिगर है 2011 में 31.91%. हाईएस्ट है. Why they are highest here? Many scholars, anthropologists, sociologists, mostly village study तो बहुत हुई है social anthropology में और sociology में, लेकिन caste study उतनी ज़्यादा deeply नहीं हुई है, especially in this region. वैसे तो है study, जैसे we find it that Marian की studies है, Maforth की studies है, Delhi's की studies है, और we have a IP Singh की स्टडी है, हरजिंदर की स्टडीज है, उसके बाद प्रोफेसर थॉर्ट ने स्टडी किया, जोधका ने स्टडी की, प्रोफेसर जोधकर ने किया, परमजीत सिंह जज ने की है, प्रोफेसर हरीश पुरी ने की है कुछ स्टडी. आई आल्सो ट्राई टू कंट्रीब्यूट लिटिल बिट. लेकिन उस तरह की जैसे विलेज स्टडी हुई है, जिस तरह से प्रोफेसर मदान, प्रोफेसर आंध्र बेते, श्रीनिवास डिड इट on संस्कृताइजेशन. कोरक में, पंजाब में जो उस तरह की स्टडी है, I tried to make a thesis on that how Sanskritization in Punjab is different. So I published in Modern Asian Studies, Beyond Conversion and Sanskritization, an alternative adult agenda in the making in Punjab. I try to say that Sanskritization in Punjab is different from Sanskritization which Amin Sarin was talked about. So issue was there. लेकिन एक बात बड़ी important है, why in Punjab there are so many scheduled caste, 1/3 of the total population. Many people asked me this question, but after 30 years of regular, constant thinking on this theme, I was not able to find a much more answer, a much more prominently, a rational, analytically, which can be proved an answer. But one thing is very much there, that it shows that here caste would be less afflictive than in other states. Thereby, it's a hypothesis. You know? So, but it does not mean that caste was not there. Had it been not there, Sufis would not have talked about caste. Guru Sahiban did not talk about caste. Bhakti tradition saints did not talk about caste. It was there only, then they talked. It was there only. Emerson had to write caste in Punjab, a thick volume, which is very, very interesting. And second fact, which I try to share with you, is that Punjab is a region where, despite the fact of its being agriculture as a mainstay, पंजाब तो अब जानते ही हैं कि ये खेती प्रधान सूबा है, खेती मेन जो इसका पर रोजगार का साधन है वो एग्रीकल्चर है, और जहां पर अगर कास्ट का इम्पैक्ट कम था तो हम ये मानते हैं कि जहां पर ज्यादा शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट आए होंगे और जगह से भी आए होंगे, और जहां पर आके समा गए बीच में, और वो जहाँ के ही नेटिव बन गए, यहाँ के ही लोग बन गए, जहाँ जैसे आज धर्म मूवमेंट तो कहती है कि वो ओरिजिनल जहाँ के थे, जहाँ से कुछ बंदे बाहर के आए होंगे, वो तो नेटिव थे। आदि धर्म जैसे आदि कर्नाटका, आदि द्रविड़ा, आदि आंध्रा, आदि हिंदू यूपी, पंजाब में आदि धर्म की बात हुई है। लेकिन इंटरेस्टिंगली ये बात है कि द शेयर ऑफ द शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट in the agricultural land is the lowest in comparison to their counterpart in the rest of the states in India. Less than 5% of them are cultivators. कुछ जगह पे वो बताया जाता है कि the share in the area of the land holding is not more than 3 point, some say 9, some say 5. Data is different. 2009-20 agriculture data, land data, some other data. So there, you can still find it. It's not difficult to find it. The share of the scheduled caste in the agricultural land of the state. So this is very, very interesting, which we try to talk about it. Now the two question comes that Punjab, which we are talking about after 1966 Punjab, where we find Sikhs are in majority, Hindus are second, communities 38%, others are very small numbers. Now within that, scheduled caste constitute 1/3 of the total population. They are scattered among the Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Christians. We find it very few. Muslims are, as I told you, after partition, very minuscule. And many of them, they considered that they belong to none of these mainstream religious denominations. They are consider themselves, Adi Dharmi, which in 1931, they got it stamped from the British, an alternative religion, around 5 lakh in 1931 census, caste-based census. They registered themselves as Adi Dharmi. Later on, that religion has been reduced to a caste. Now, there are 39 scheduled castes in the scheduled caste category in the list. And one of them is the Adi Dharmi, which happened to be a 1931 religion. So these 39 castes, they are scattered over 5 religions. And they practice, like in other states, caste among themselves. They are not homogeneous. So when we talk about social exclusion, we can't talk about social exclusion while keeping our eyes closed on the social exclusion within the scheduled caste categories, which is hardly studied. I want to draw Professor Thorat's attention to this point, that we need to include this also in our research, that how social exclusion is a system which need to be studied within the scheduled caste system of social structure. Because Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar did talk about it in the Mahad Satyagraha. He tried to convince the monks, but they did not come forward to join him in the Mahad Satyagraha in 1927. And he was trying to convince them, but they thought it was a Maharja movement. So thereby, when we find that 1935 onwards, Baba Sahib talking about conversion, he's addressing to Maharaj only. If you read, his biography, but you find it, these references, he talked about it, how the things was there within the scheduled caste communities. Now, here I will talk with this background, the idea of, what we call it, exclusion and integration. Let's talk about first, integration. What Sikh religion has done it. Here, again, we must be very much clear to make a distinction between Sikh religion and a Sikh society, which is often called Panthik, Panth, P-A-N-T-H, which is from path. So you must make a difference clearly between a doctrinal religion, the postulates of religion, the theology, and the Panth, and the society. So the idea was that the society should be structured on the doctrines of the religion, which is no caste, no recognition for a caste, all are equal, gender equality, which called about hard labor work, which called about sharing, which also talk about, no sort of a, ritualistic, tradition-based, ceremonial, theology. They only based on remembering, a non-anthropomorphic, जिसका कोई आकार नहीं है, जिसकी कोई शक्ल नहीं है, उस गॉड को निराकार, फॉर्मलेस गॉड, उसकी बात है. इसके बारे में फिलॉसफी में जो सिख फिलॉसफी है, जो सिख धर्म है, रिलीजन है जैसे कहते हैं, उसमें ये है कि we have to work hard because the Varna system, which is a professionally, specified professional divided society, occupation divided, जिसके बारे में ये बोला जाता है कि we find it hereditary divisions, and repulsion, and hierarchy, these are the basic three dimensions. There is a hierarchy, there is a repulsion, and there is a job specification, specialization of jobs. Then the status accordingly given. Then repulsion, from where when we talk about purity, pollution of a Dumos, and other thinkers, social scientists who try to locate even when beside it the caste of minds, the work studies, we find it. All these issues are very, very, very much interesting. So here we find it, the very idea of Sikh religion was that we should not give any importance, rather we should totally reject caste. In order to reject caste, the first idea was a fraternity, which really embedded in the Sikh understanding of the religion and the society. Integrity comes from working, earning with your hands, kirt karna. Whereas in the Varnashram system, those who work with hands are called Shudra. They spoil their hands. Those hands which use their hand only for weapon are called Kshatriya. And those hands which use for being provisions are called the Vaishyas. and those hands which only take shastras, text and read it, or do the pujas, they are called, the top, the Brahmin. And who are the Shudras? Who make use of hands to work, all artisans. So now, according to the Sikh system of understanding, they say that we have to do work with the hand. We have to earn our livelihood. Thereby, Baba Nanak started doing agriculture in Kartarpur, which he established after making, long journeys to different parts of the country and nearby countries abroad, including Makkah, Sri Lanka, Iran, Iraq, now Iraq and Iran, and that. So now he settled there and started doing agriculture. Now here we find it that he was establishing a new integration, in society where there would be no, low and high. Everybody would be equal. So that idea was also sharing. Sharing was not only, simply a detached principle. It's a part of a social integration. That when you share with other, you become integrated. Sharing is not there, in the Varnashram system. If you share only within your own community. आप उनको ही बुला के लंगर लगाते हैं, उनको ही बुला के खाना खिलाते हैं. So sharing in Sikh tradition became a sharing where all are invited, irrespective of language, region, caste, religion. And those differences, those indicators, they come to an end. So that was there. And then they also talk about remembrance, to talk about that. What is remembrance? Because we find it that the Atishudras, they were not considered fit to, do the puja in the temples. So that was the main point behind the philosophy, how to integrate it. But by the idea was that, so there is no need to go for certain rituals and ceremonies. There's no need for any traditions. Papa Nanak proved it. So he went to Haridwar, people were offering water to sun, he was offering water to the opposite direction. People said, are you insane? Why are you putting water? He said, I'm giving water to my, beet field in Kartarpur. He said, how come your water go there? He said, if your water can go to the sun, which is crores of miles away from earth, and Chandigarh sab to, je Kartarpur to saath hai, ye bahar chal jayega pani mera. But he tried to say, that is the rationality. So he tried to bring this, a new tradition. He was not going to establish a parallel sort of a tradition. No, he was saying the traditions are boundaries. He tried to come out of that. He said, "Kaam karo," or you do work hard and sit together and eat food in a pangat means a single line. There would be a communication. So this happened, in the tradition of the integration. So now this tradition has brought many lower caste, both Shudra and Ati Shudras, into the fold of Sikhism. See, so when we find that Sikhism as a body of religion, it emerged, they say, from within this region. But who were the people who came to Sikhism? Kushwan Singh, in his 2 volumes of the Sikh studies history, he talks about that the majority of them, they come from the lower caste and the lowest caste. So those who are now a dominant community in Punjab, who are the owners of the land, 80% above, they were at one point of time when Nanak started its new egalitarian system of integration and fighting a social exclusion. They all were debarred from having a right on the land. And Ati Shudras, they were also deprived of land. So now we find it, here is a catch. How from some of the Shudra communities, those who were doing such profession of plowing the field, land, ultimately after Maharaja Ranjit Singh, before that Banda Bahadur, they become the owners of the land. It's very interesting. and others could not. But the idea was that, the equality, the principle of equality somewhere remained there within the religion. But as far as the society is concerned, the Sikh society is concerned, we find that has to take place within that region. So we find it, there is a problem, in that end. So here comes the exclusion. When we try to talk about, Vidya, how much time I would have with me?
Sir, 20 minutes more, sir. Then we'll take question answers.
Okay, I will take then 5 minutes, correct?
या 10 minutes आप बात कर सकते हो सर.
But
उसके बाद हम question answers लेंगे.
Request you to give me 5 minutes more, 25 minutes. So now, when we are trying to talk about, exclusion, we find that somewhere we find that the scheduled caste in Punjab, who converted to first to Islam, Christianity, and to Sikhism, they still find that they did not get equality. They got equality in the religious sphere, but there also some questions are there that they are within the religious sphere, in certain which are considered sacrosanct, they were not allowed to there. So we find that in 1920 there is a movement for equality within the religious centers also. We find that even the Chief Khalsa Diwan, Sh੍ਰੋਮਣੀ Gurdwara Prabandhak Committee, they come forward for this. Even the current Akal Takht, Jathedar and the other members of the SGPC, they are talking about Akal Takht Jathedar comes from a scheduled caste, ex-scheduled caste communities, which is called scheduled caste communities, ex-untouchables. That shows there is equality. They won't practice as far as the religion is concerned, but still they find that we need equality. That shows at the level of society, a lot need to be done. In Punjab, the only distinction in terms of social exclusion in comparison to other parts of the country is that Punjab में जो social exclusion है वो छूत छात की जो principle है purity और impurity उसके बेस पे नहीं है, जहाँ पर इसके जो main reasons है वो है material, because here we find it the share in the local sources of power structure जो है उसमें नहीं है. We find it in some places where they try to ask for a membership in the governing bodies of the religious places, which called management committees. When they could not find it, and when they find it that they find that some sort of discrimination, then they start asking for alternative space in the religious sphere. That has led to a counter public in terms of religion. That has led to scheduled caste, separate religious centers, gurdwaras, bhavans, deras, called it. So in Punjab, 12,000 plus villages, we find it. Some studies, that study 10 years, 20 years now old study, which says that there are 9,000 scheduled caste religious centers which have come up in Punjab. Many of them are so that they have membership running into lakhs. So there are, within that we find it specific denomination deras, Ravidas deras. To say their sentences, one study shows more than 60 exclusive Ravidas deras are there. So all these religious centers, they are becoming as a syncretic. They say that we don't want you to change your religion conversion. You can belong to any religion, but still you come here, you follow our system of syncretism. So they talk about, although there is a problem of confrontation between the mainstream religion and these deras are emerging. We find it. You might have read so many news stories about all this, how the things are happening. But that shows somewhere, the question of exclusion, which got reflected in the form of, alternative religions, which are there. So now we find it that such exclusions, when we talk about, are there, in terms of, you see, we find it that from the profession's point of view in Punjab, still we find that those sort of exclusions are slowly and steadily are being minimized. For example, some of the old traditional occupations like carrying the dead cattle, skinning, all they are now becoming commercialized. And all of them, they become very profitable. So now scheduled caste are those who are traditionally, professionally, hereditary doing this, occupations, they are no more there. And rather, when it's becoming a matter of, profit, so somebody else came and took those, traditional occupations in their hand. So there's also some sort of a protest that how these professions for centuries are being done without proper paid labor. But now when the question of commercialization comes, it was there. In fact, it started from the British time onwards, when there was a cantonment in the Jalandhar area. Jalandhar is a district in Punjab where Dharmis are in large numbers, more than 40%, especially in Jalandhar and Hoshiarpur districts. In the Doaba region, we find it Kapurthala and Namashar, we find it Dharmis are. If we try to understand the social exclusion, then we must understand also, or in Punjab, out of the 29, out of 39 caste, the two major caste groups must be understood properly. So then we can find it more easily how social exclusion and how integration has to be studied. So these two groups are, one group is of, those who are the ex-weepers, the Majvis, and those who remained. Majvis are one who converted to Sikhism, and those who remained with the Hindu fold, they are called Valmikis. So it's a one group. So they constitute, around 40%, 41% point some share in the total population. Similarly, the other group, which is called, a cobbler's group. I'm not using the Jati Suchika word. Within quotes, academically it would be called, a Charmakar, but here we are not using it. They are Dharmis. And in Punjab, we find two other, names, Ravidasiyas and Ramadasiyas. Ramadasiyas are those who are especially the, weavers, and the Ravidasiyas are traditionally leather workers. So these five castes, Ravidasiyas, Ramadasiyas, Dharmis, and the Charmakars, Valmikis, and Majvis, and some Rangratars, Sikhs. They were the caste which constitutes 80% of the total scheduled caste population out of 39. Recently, in 2007, Rai Sikhs, which happened to be around 8 lakhs, about a million, 2 lakh less than a million, they were added from OBCs to the scheduled caste. So now that equation little bit changed after that, but still we find that these five major castes, they are predominantly. In that, we find that the Valmikis and Majvis are the most, deprived. Although there are 13, depressed classes within the scheduled caste, now, out of which 11 are denotified tribes, the ex-criminal tribes, but their number is very minuscule. But that is very interesting, that they are depressed scheduled caste, within scheduled caste. So keeping this factor of social exclusion, the reservation in Punjab, given that 32% share in the total population, has been 25%, whereas in the rest of the country, reservation is 15%. In Punjab, it is 25%. And quite interestingly, in order to minimize social exclusion within the scheduled caste, and make integration. Scheduled caste in Punjab, reservation has been divided in two parts. 12.5% from Majbis and Balmikis, and the rest of the 12.5% for the rest of the 37 caste. Even within the Sikh scheduled caste, reservation is applicable, as Professor Thorat has said. Although at that time, when Master Tara Singh was advocating with Vallabhbhai Patel for a reservation, he said the Sikh did not believe in caste. Why you're asking for this? Or this question was there. And they say that yes, they are there. We won't have a belief in caste, but the benefit should be given. And many scholars say that if that benefit was not given, those people would have left the religion. So some other point were there. Later on, we find it that among the Muslims and the Christian, this advantage is not there. The Buddhist, we find it. But the question was that this issue was very much there. So now, the main factor which I tried to bring it in the last few minutes was that when we talk about religion, we find there is an absolute equality. There's no question of social exclusion. But when we talk about society, we find it there is an exclusion. But that exclusion is not based on purity and impurity like in other parts of the country. But that social exclusion has its material basis. That has based on structures of agrarian relations. So now religion, what religion can do here? The need is to make changes in the structure of agricultural relations, agrarian relations. It's a need to be done at the material level. So the state has to make a prominent intervention. Religion has done its job. They try to bring equality. They try to talk about there's no such space for that. So once the question of those who are the member of now these religion, who are the followers of these religion, when they try to find at the term of material existence, they find that such excluding factors, they are making some sense to them. So they here try to, continue with this. The issue was that how we can do it. Although, in 1972, a provision was made in land ceiling, that agriculture land which is irrigatable, it can be irrigated then up to 17.5 acre. The non-irrigated land up to 30, 32, 35 acre per household family were there. That was ceiling was there. Then in 1961, land, common village panchayat land, has been kept 1/3 of that for the scheduled caste. Such measures were there, but those measures could not have been implemented. It was only in the late, we find it 2020s. We find it that somewhere a new tradition started in the Malabar region, which is a region where we find Majbi Sikhs are in majority, like in Firozpur, Faridkot, Mansa, Sangrur, Gurdaspur and Amritsar, Tarantan, these are the Majha area, but the earlier districts in the Malabar region. So there's a lot of land. Two types of land was there where scheduled caste share was not given. So that was exclusion. Nazul land. What was the Nazul land? N-A-Z-U-L, Nazul land. Nazul land was the land which was vacated by the Muslims inhabitant of this region before 1947. But after they left, that land was distributed among those who were displaced from Pakistan. जो वहां से जहां पर आए थे, उनके बावजूद भी जो लैंड जहां से खाली हुई थी मुसलमानों की, वो जो बच गई उसे नजूल लैंड कहते हैं. एंड शामलाट लैंड, जो ट्रेडिशनली was considered, Chamlat means the land which belongs to the community, where no individual membership was there, ownership was there. So that land should have been distributed among the landless agriculture, scheduled caste. That was social exclusion. So here, what religion can play a role? People start blaming that there's a religion, they are discriminating against us. Just when the question of means of production and the relations of production, that equation comes, we find it that the landless agricultural workers and the landholders, peasants, they become a class factor. So here, religion takes the back seat. But when the conflict comes, it took the form of a religion. That creates a problem. As Professor Gyan Singh has rightly said, that the question of wages in the Punjab, where the landless agricultural workers are 92%, who are working on the farmland, when they ask for wages, the question of class immediately given the color of a caste. That those who are land, they are belonging to a particular caste. So they thought that it's a social exclusion. So these issues need to be understood. I hope that these issues are there in South India also. They might be there in the central India. They might be there in the other part of the North India, and other parts also. And we have to study it, how the question of exclusion varies from region to region. What are the dimensions of social exclusion? How religion in different spheres has helped to maintain such divisions and to also at the same time integrate it. How we will find all these issues to be more so that we can have an understanding at the grassroots level and can try to tackle this problem more clearly rather than beating around the bush. With this, I would thank you very much for allowing me. I hope some questions are there, then we can discuss it. Otherwise, as you will try to conduct further questions, it's no for you. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सो मच सर। आपने पंजाब, तो अभी तक का पंजाब जो हमें पता है, हरियाली से भरा एक क्रांतिकारी राज्य और काफी विविधता से परिपूर्ण ऐसे पंजाब के बारे में हम सभी को जानकारी है। लेकिन एक अलग पंजाब जिसका एक सामाजिक और सांस्कृतिक इतिहास जो आपने बिफोर पार्टीशन एंड आफ्टर पार्टिसिपेशन के बाद का पंजाब आपने बहुत ही विस्तार से हमारे बीच प्रस्तुत किया है। पंजाब का सामाजिक, राजकीय तथा सांस्कृतिक इतिहास और इस इतिहास का एक बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा जो दलित और पिछड़ों के सोशल एक्सक्लूजन से पर जुड़ा है, इसे आपने बहुत ही अभ्यासपूर्ण तरीके से आपका विवेचन रहा है। थैंक यू सो मच सर। अभी मैं इस चर्चा की अध्यक्षता करने के लिए ऑनरेबल प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर सुखदेव थोराट सर जी को इनवाइट करूंगी। उसके बाद हम कुछ सवाल लेंगे।
आप लोगों ने बहुत ही इंसाइटफुल, बहुत नॉलेजेबल और एविडेंस बेस्ड लेक्चर सुना। मैं नहीं समझता कि इतना अच्छा और डिटेल में जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कोई कर सकता है। वो इसलिए है कि रोंकी राम जी का काम लगातार उस पर रहा है। इसलिए मैं इसको समराइज करने की कोशिश नहीं करूंगा या हिम्मत भी नहीं करूंगा। मुझे लगता है कि जो ऑडियंस है वो सवाल पूछे और इसके ऊपर अच्छी चर्चा हो। तो विद्या, मेरा ख्याल है प्लीज ओपन इट फॉर डिस्कशन, लेट द पीपल आस्क द क्वेश्चन। इस पे चार्ट पे भी कुछ सवाल है, वो भी ले लो।
जी सर। जी जी। Dear participant, now this platform open for the discussion. You may raise your hand or put your question in chat box. Yes, Professor Thangar sir.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
I have 2-3 questions.
Yeah.
To be asked from the speaker.
Can you?
I am happy that he could
Angaraj,
speak.
can you put a video?
Yeah,
Angaraj,
video.
sir.
Yeah, I'll put it. Yeah. I could understand your
Ronki Rao,
speech
this is
very clearly towards the end of your lecture,
Thagraj, who has given
because
lecture
it was in
yesterday, for
full
last
English.
week on Dalit kitchen.
I have some 2-3 questions.
Okay.
And the first question is, you were saying that 41% of the Dalits from the Hindu and Sikh. Among these two, which is dominant numerically, is my own first question. Second question is whether Punjab government is implementing the reservation policies, reservation of jobs for the scheduled caste. Is there any community which is trying to get more job opportunities among the scheduled caste?
Okay.
This is the second question. My third question is, you were referring to land, land costing. We have, Tamil Nadu in 2-3 districts where scheduled caste population is quite high, about 25 to 30%. But they operate only 1 or 2% of the land. But similar situation persists in entire Punjab. I would like to know what is the role in redistributing the land to the Dalits.
Okay. Congratulations. I will,
to improve their land holdings.
Very insightful questions.
This is my, I think, third question.
Very good.
And you said, the 60% that is non-Hindu and Sikh. Then among this 60%, which is more, whether Christianity is more or Sikhism, or not Sikhism, Christianity, or Islam, or Buddhism, which is more. That is another question. I think I will stop with this. I have something more. I will come back a little later. I seek your intervention, sir.
Thank you very much, Rajan. It's a very, very, direct questions you asked it. First of all, we find that the majority of scheduled caste in Punjab, we find that still we won't have exact, caste-wise data with us presently available, but it's general observations, general estimate that among the peoples, those who have converted to Sikhism, they are constituting at par with the other group of the caste, which is the Adharmis, Ravidasis, and Ramdasis. Within that, we find that Ramdasiyas are the Sikhs, Ravidasis are not Sikhs. So if we can include Ramadasiya Sikhs, to which community present the Charanjit Singh Channi, who was the CM during 111 days, and another Babu Kanshiram, he was also belonged to the Ramadasiya communities. So we find that Ramadasiyas and Majvis, if we put together them, they constitute a good number of people. So that is the scheduled caste Sikhs. As far as the Adharmis are concerned, they consider themselves neither Hindu nor Sikh, like the Adi Andhras, Adi Dravidas, the Adi Karnatakas. So they won't consider, but officially they are, recording during the census in the section of a Hindu religion. So if they ask them which religion you belong, even then they put Hindu. Some says Buddhist, some says Sikh, but we weren't still very much sure about this. Although time and again from the Ravidasiya communities, there remained a demand that Ravidasiya religion should be declared as if at par with other religions. So here, my answer to your question is that we find a good number of scheduled caste, who are the members of the Sikh, within Sikhism, we find a good number, especially the Ramadasiyas and the Majbis, whereas the Valmikis and the Ravidasiyas, they are within the Hindus. So given that tradition, we find it, there is a not much, variance in terms of numbers. We find, equal number in both these concerns. At the same time also, we find some percentage of our dharmis are there. So I have an article in EPW, caste within caste, caste cleavages. Within that article, I try to give in detail. You can refer to that, you find it, caste-wise, a percentage of scheduled caste, and I try to figure them within different religions. Now, as far as the land is concerned, within in Punjab, land somewhere, we find it so much minuscule. So many of them, they won't have, any land at all. Some of them have a land. So I don't want to go into the Land Alienation Act of 900, when the Britishers made it, deprived the scheduled caste along with other non-agricultural communities. So before that, there was a Razatnamas, which is a customary law, that those scheduled caste who live in a separate scheduled caste bastis, the cherries, the cherries land in the cherries did not belong to them. That was again to the landed community's name. So that was a discrimination which Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, after implementing the constitutions in 1950s, becoming a republic, he set aside, declared ultra vires that customary law and put the scheduled caste to eligible to buy land, to sell land. So now that was a thing. But as far as the question of land rights are concerned, we find it not much has been done to implement it, like the 1/3, the 33% Panchayati Shamlat land to be distributed among the scheduled castes. Not much has been done, nor land reforms, as the All India patterns, they were implemented in Punjab also. That remains a question, a major question, big questions. As per the reservation concerned, that reservation mostly you find within the scheduled caste communities, other scheduled caste communities, those who are not Adharmi, they often try to assert it that the major chunk of reservation has been gained by the Adharmis. They are the upwardly mobile. They were the one who got into the education, they into schools and colleges. I don't know in South India which community is much more educated business scheduled caste, but in Punjab, Dharmi, one caste, one community has much more, exposure. That community is also, as Professor Thorit know, because he has a very good connection with Punjab, majority of them has went abroad. So, they settled abroad in Arab countries, in Europe, in North America. They were the one who started migrating as early as 1904. Manguram, who was the leader, founder of the Adhara movement, he left Punjab in 1909 and he returned in 1925. He was active even in the Ghadar movement. Then after coming here, he started a movement for reclaiming, the land, which sometimes belonged to the original inhabitant of this part of the country. He was saying that that land should come to us. So we find it, this. I think with this, if I have left something, please let me know. I can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Thangra, sir. Sir, next question from Trilok Hazare, sir, regarding education status. He says, education status of SC in Punjab, share in education and health institution, and share of SC in government organization.
This is again, Trilok Hazare is very, very interesting question. And this is available, figures are quite good in terms of statistics. It's available. Literacy rate in Punjab is quite good in comparison to to find it. If we can find it, exactly how much, I will try to look at it. But the share in the government services, as far as class 4, class 3 is concerned, but as far as class 1 is concerned, it is as lagging behind as in the all India level. You find it, but still we find there is a lot of assertion, Dalit consciousness, which say from 1925 onwards. It was only due to this consciousness which came through the Adharma movement. I'm giving you one instance that in 1947, post 1947, the first IPS, the first PCS officer in Punjab was ID Pawar, Ishwar Jal Pawar. He became, and when he became the passport officer, he started issuing passport to the scheduled caste. Before that, passport was a very, very major, a difficulty to get a passport because you won't have land, you won't have anything to give as a witness of the grantee. So when he became a PCS officer, he started it. Then that started a question that all those officers who coming into job, they try to create it, that feeling of cohesiveness for that. But as far as the health services are concerned, we find it that in Punjab for the last many years from the earlier two Akali governments, a trend was that yellow card and the blue cards system, where like in Andhra Pradesh, every family has to be given this much amount of rice, every family has been given this much amount of. Now the popular discourse that up to 2 lakh, up to 3 lakh, up to 4 lakh expenses should be you can say reimbursed by the government. The state would give for that. That is very much rare. So as far as the number of scheduled caste is Punjab concerned, electoral strength, every political party try to do them. Every people try to get their support. So they are running ahead of each other to provide them facilities. That is there. But now the question is that in Punjab we find that BSP, like in Uttar Pradesh, but now in Uttar Pradesh we won't find much support structure. In Punjab, the BSP could not take its roots. Why? Because we find it, but BSP tried to promise to do to the scheduled caste. Other political parties are also doing it. And secondly, the latest results on 10th March in Punjab has showed that caste factor in Punjab is taking the back seat. They did not cast vote for a scheduled caste, chief ministerial candidate. They're trying to talk about that. This was somewhere issue of, we are not going to led by such populist slogans by the ruling party at that time, Congress. The question was that who can do for them? So that shows, although they could not make political capital in Punjab, there's a lot of consciousness which has a lot of hope that in Punjab, the scheduled caste community one day would definitely come forward to ask for their due shares in a much more concerted and in a much more straight way, so they will gain it from their unity among themselves. But that is only possible if, as I wrote in many of my articles in the forward press, in print and in Outlook also, that they need to minimize social exclusion within their own house.
Thank you,
हेलो
sir.
सर मुझे ये पूछना था विद्या मैडम।
हाँ सर, पूछिए।
मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि शेड्यूल कास्ट की कुछ एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट है या?
सर आवाज नहीं आ रही है।
शेड्यूल कास्ट की कुछ एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट है या हेल्थ इंस्टीट्यूट है? मतलब जैसे इंस्टीट्यूटलाइजेशन है, जैसे अपन ने क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी के लिए एक लेक्चर रखा था, तो उनका इंस्टीट्यूटलाइजेशन का सर्किट जो है देश भर में बहुत ज्यादा है, लेकिन उसमें शेड्यूल कास्ट का शेयर बहुत कम है।
सर साउंड इज नॉट कमिंग प्रॉपर्ली।
मैं सुन रहा हूँ, फाइन।
हाँ,
बोलिए आप।
हाँ, जैसे क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटी में उनका इंस्टीट्यूटलाइजेशन थ्रू आउट द कंट्री है, हेल्थ का है, एजुकेशन का। पंजाब में शेड्यूल कास्ट का education institute.
Okay. To look, yes. If you can read my article in Journal of Asian Studies 2008, And you can read my article in Journal of Punjab and Sikh Studies 2009, and also in EPW. You find that a lot of education institutions and health institutions are there in Punjab. Those institutions are run by scheduled caste based, deras, especially Ravidas deras. Dera Sachkhand Bulla, one of the major prominent deras in Punjab, which has constructed, Ravidas temple in Kashi, Varanasi. That was the major. So there again, we find it. They have a special school at Hadiabad, which is an English medium school, where not only the scheduled caste, children, even the upper caste, people, they want to get their children admitted in that because it's a very good English medium school. Similarly, they have a special eye hospital in, Bilbala. They have a special hospital in Qatar, Tapur Kapoor, in different regions in Doba. So no, those institutions are providing. And secondly, in collaboration with National Health Services UK, so those scheduled caste diaspora, which we call Dalit diaspora, because Dalit word is not now to be used also, as it's becoming a derogatory. So we find that various scheduled caste groups who are there in well placed in Europe and North America, they make arrangement of European doctors to send them and organize camps in Punjab for the health of the scheduled caste. This is a major development. It has not been documented, but I tried to document, Professor Thorat, in some of my articles, how National Health Services from UK, they come regularly to Dera Balla's hospital. They do all those checkups. So this is there, education institutions and the health services being provided, not like the Christian system, but this is a system which they donate money, philanthropy, and they organize. And there are many organizations like, Siroe Brothers from California, so they come in Punjab, whereby they organize festival education melas, where they distribute, and they also adopt scheduled caste children to pay for them. So various, Smartian people, and those who have, they say that we want to pay back. There's a lot of, even Kamale Raju from your region, he used to come to Punjab. He got a lot of support from the Punjabi diaspora. He used to organize many, shivers, education shivers in Punjab to promote it. So a lot many there. So now I would write one more article on this, so that it will cover it, all these things.
Thank you very much. लेकिन ये पूरे देश का अगर पिक्चर देखा जाए तो उससे आपकी सिचुएशन शेड्यूल कास्ट के बारे में काफी सराहनीय है. आपका नियर अबाउट स्टेट जो है हरियाणा, उसमें तो सिचुएशन, हमने उसके ऊपर भी एक वेबिनार किया था, उसमें सिचुएशन बहुत ही खराब थी, लेकिन आपकी सिचुएशन शेड्यूल कास्ट की बहुत ही अच्छी है पंजाब की.
हाँ, धन्यवाद. उसका ताल्लुक ऐसा है कि पंजाब में ये जो कॉन्शियसनेस है, ये आज की बात नहीं है, ये 1925 से ऑनवर्ड्स है. एंड उससे पहले भी जो आर्य समाज था पंजाब में, सिंह सभा थी, चीफ कास्ट दीवान था, उसने बहुत ज्यादा इंप्रूवमेंट लाया था. तो वो एक तरह का, हम कुछ स्टडीज है वो कहते हैं कि इट वाज ए 1990s 1900 ऑनवर्ड्स, ये जो इंक्रीमेंटल सॉर्ट पे लोकतंत्र की बात होनी थी, उसको लेकर एवरीबॉडी ट्राइंग टू मूव द as a numbers, but still they played a lot of role. So DAV schools, DAV colleges, Khalsa schools, Khalsa colleges had played a significant role in the social mobility among the scheduled castes. We must recognize that the Khalsa schools, Khalsa colleges, they played a major role, and DAV schools, DAV colleges played a major role. I know one fellow, K.C. Sulek, he is now 95, 96. He himself studied from such schools. He told me how in the beginning the contribution was there. And later on, it was picked up by the Adharam, then by the Scheduled Caste Federation, by the Baba Sahib's mission, 1942 onward. Baba Sahib, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, visited Punjab thrice. He remained there 27, 28, 29th October 1951. He made a special mock parliament of democracy, election studies there in DAV school, DAV college, Jalandhar, all those things, and we find that Bhagwan, great scholars of from Shimla, then he later on settled in Delhi, Bhagwan Das ji, he edited 3 volumes, Thus Spoke Ambedkar. Thus spake Ambedkar. And those 3 volumes, speeches of Baba Sahib Dr. Ambedkar are included. So that shows that education, Baba Sahib was invited by a dera on his way to Ludhiana, and there he told to the Sant that if you want to make scheduled caste, see the better times in their life, it's not to teach them all these things. They should be taught in proper schools, and education must be there. So that Punjab has a tradition of such things. And even
in fact, Ronki Ram, after Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar had made an announcement in Yeola for his intention to convert to other religion, several religious leaders went to him, and also the delegation of Sikhs went to him. But I will talk about that. But I think in response to that, they set up a Khalsa college in Bombay.
Yeah.
And that was specifically meant to give priority to the scheduled caste. And even today, that Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar is not alive, but his name is still there on the board of trustees.
And that was the college, Khalsa College, which was which published posthumously, his Buddha and his Dhamma.
Yeah. So there were effort, certainly,
Thank you, sir. Sir, some comments from participants I would like to read. Shura Dharapuri madam says, excellent lecture. Thank you, sir. And
she's the granddaughter of I just talked about the great
she's the daughter of
Bhagat. And comments from Professor Vimal Thorat madam. Very reach out, excellent thought, provocative information about the caste discrimination in Sikhism. Thank you, sir.
My regard to Professor Vimal Thorat.
And now question from Sanjay Kumar Ambazogai. What is condition of intercaste marriages in Punjab?
Sanjay, you must visit Punjab. From the last many years, it's a very, very positive development. A lot of intercaste marriages are taking place. Earlier, it used to be, where only the girls, but now we find it, even the girls from the upper caste also getting married to the, scheduled caste. So we find it. And secondly, the intercaste marriages has also, we find it that the mobility from separate scheduled caste colonies to the mainstream villages, process authority is taking place. Now there is no opposition if scheduled caste buy a house in the main village. So that is quite interesting. Even in my village, many of the belonging to the scheduled caste community people, they have bought the houses among the upper caste localities, mainstream villages. So many of the families have intercaste marriages. So it's a very good trend, which is a welcome trend also. Because Baba Sahib himself said, because intercaste marriages can reduce social exclusion. So these things are happening. It's quite a positive there. So in Punjab, because there are runaway marriages also, so then they seek protection also. But those cases are now, we find it, that violence, post-marriage violence, runaway marriages violence is coming, quite down. We find it's there. But still, another thing is there, if you see the newspaper, advertisement, you find that still people are asking for marriages within their endogamy is there. It was there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. No more question in chat box, but one comment from Dr. Pushpa Thorat. Very informative talk, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
If anyone has any question, yes, sir. Professor Thangra, sir. Yeah, please. Sir, unmute yourself.
Yeah.
My next question is there any coordination among the Dalits for any political motive or any common platform? Is one. Second question, the Congress government party has announced Dalit candidate for CM candidate in Punjab. Considering the population of the scheduled caste, if they vote at least about out of 31%, 25% of the people vote for Congress, definitely that candidate would have become chief minister. What happened at the political level? Why this Congress government failed to get sufficient vote to nominate the scheduled caste candidate as a chief minister?
Tangraj is very interesting, very ground-based question, reality-based question. You see, we won't find internal coordination among the 39 scheduled caste communities in Punjab. So they are sharply, divided in terms of, different factors, in terms of religion also, in terms of their, status in education, and also the question of reservation. They are sharply divided. Rather, still they are in a court case which is lying in a Supreme Court. So those are differences. They considered high and low status among themselves. Ramadasiyas considered being higher than the Ravidasiyas. Ravidasiyas considered being higher than the the monks and the others, Maldas, the monks and the Mahars, like another part of the country. We find it. And secondly, we also find that politically they are affiliated, across those caste lines. So we find if one community is affiliated with the Congress, the other is affiliated with the Akali Dal, then in between they find it, affiliated with the BJP. So there is no coordination. As far as the scheduled caste candidate was concerned, so no, he belonged to a particular community within the scheduled caste, Ramadasiyas. So no, there was a lot of talking that Ravidasiyas, may support him, but the Balmikis and the Dharmis, and the Majbis, they may not come forward to support him because there was again a lot of differences. So much so that when he was a leader of the opposition, there was a one Balmiki candidate, within the Congress party. He left the stage, Hansraj Hans, who said that you are discriminating against us. Later on, he joined the BJP and he contested from Delhi and won the election, and he is no member of parliament. So now we find that thereby these two communities, two groups, they are sharply divided. Had they will come together, they would have easily, but they could not. Even the BSP in Punjab, once upon a time, they have a good percentage. Now they don't even have a 2% of votes. That shows a lack of coordination, very deep, very, at a very low level, some coordination. So they need a lot. They have to, cover extra mile to bring those differences. As far as the social consciousness is concerned, it is there. But politically, how they will come, there is a lack of leadership. Even Babu Kanchiram could not bring a unity among them. He has to leave for Uttar Pradesh to find his experiment to be implemented. So that is the problem, because Punjab has a lot of consciousness, but Punjab lacks a leader. Once that leader comes, nobody can stop them from coming into political power. They can, because they are 32%. If they can, even up to 32%, if 20, 25, 28% come forward, there will be other castes who would also like to support, come. It's not only scheduled caste, but sports scheduled caste. There's a lot of change now. Others will also support them. The Bahujan order would also come forward. But the question was that the caste within caste, the question of exclusion within has to be tackled first. As Baba Sahib said, at the Mahat conference, that we have to fight until we won't remove caste within us, ourselves. We can't do it. Caste annihilation is not possible. We can't do caste annihilation because this is a thinking. This is not a structure only. This thinking we have to come because it's a very, very deeply, seeped into our very self. That is the question which has to be looked into. I hope I have answered the question. John, please unmute yourself.
Unmute, sir. Unmute कीजिए sir.
Question. Yeah, one last question. And which group has, large number of Ambedkarites? One among the scheduled caste groups.
Other means.
They belong to which community?
Adharmi is a community. Adharmi is a community which has been, termed as Adharmi during Baba Sahib, during the Adhar movement. Later on, they joined Baba Sahib Ambedkar's mission. So they are the ex-Charmakar.
No, they belong to which religion?
They mostly Buddhist and the Hindu. Some of the Ramadasiyas are who are the Sikhs also. They also follow Baba Sahib Ambedkar.
Okay. Thank you.
I thank you very much because now I'm finding that in order to make Punjab easily understandable to outside, such issues I have to work it out. I will try to, because this is clear to us, it should be made clear to others. So this is a good hint. I would do something on these lines. I will write it. Who are among the scheduled caste more closer to Baba Sahib and how they are thinking about this. All these things are about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. कोई सवाल है किसी का? सवाल तो नहीं दिख रहा है. वोट ऑफ थँक्स कर लेते. कोणाचा प्रश्न आहे का?
नाही, कोणी दिसत नाही आहे.
हाँ, कोणी नाही दिसत. Okay. Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Sanjay Kumar Gaikwad from Ambajogai to give a proposed vote of thanks.
Unmute yourself.
हाँ सर बोला. माइक तुमचा इयरफोन काढा सर. इयरफोन नका यूज करू. विदाउट इयरफोन बोला.
Hello, am I audible? आवाज येतोय?
हो आवाज येतो. बोला.
Yes, firstly, good evening to all of you, all participants. I am also very thankful to the Association for Social and Economic Equality for organizing such kind of webinar on the topic scheduled caste, Sikhs and issue of social exclusion and integration in Punjab. So this is our 73rd series on this such kind of topic. I am very thankful for today's chairperson, Padma Shri Professor Sukhdev Thorat sir, for always guiding us on such kind of intellectual topics. And I am also very heartily thankful for today's speaker, Professor Ronki Ram sir, for giving us very excellent guidance on the topic of such today's topic, especially for explaining the total the condition of Punjab. We did understood the Punjab with today's your topic. I'm also very thankful to Professor Shura Dharapuri madam for joining this program. Also, I'm very thankful to participants for asking such kind of question. Because of that questions, we understood the topic very clearly. And I'm also thankful to coordinator, Dr. Trilok Hazare sir, Dr. Gautam Kamble sir, and
आवाज बंद झालाय. सर म्यूट झाले तुम्ही. बोला सर.
Now I over to Vidya madam. Is there any guidelines?
थैंक यू सर. प्रोफेसर थांगराज सर का भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. आपने काफी महत्वपूर्ण ऐसे सवाल पूछे. थैंक यू सो मच. डॉक्टर पुष्पा थोरात मैडम है हमारे साथ, उनका भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद है. इसके बाद सरला मेश्राम मैडम भी है, समीक्षा मैडम है, मोहन वानखेड़े सर है. आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
और विद्या मैडम का भी
त्रिलोक हजारे सर का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. हेलो सर, हजारे सर.
अच्छा विद्या मैडम,
हाँ,
आपको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. आपने बहुत अच्छा संचालन किया है और आप काफी दिन से करते आ रहे हैं. और रोंकी राम सर ने बहुत ही अच्छा लेक्चर दिया है, बहुत ही विथ रेफरेंसेस विथ, और उनका वो लिटरेचर पढ़ने लायक है. हो सके आपके पास ईमेल है तो आप उनको वो सारे लिटरेचर के रेफरेंसेस मांग लीजिए, अपन उसका करेंगे, अध्ययन करेंगे. और बहुत ही अच्छा लेक्चर रहा है, बहुत ही. पंजाब के बारे में ये सारी चीजें हमारे सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स को या डेलीगेट्स को नहीं पता थी, जहां तक मुझे लगता है. तो बहुत ही अच्छा लेक्चर दिया है. विमल थोरात मैडम का भी धन्यवाद, सर का भी धन्यवाद. और सर को हम बहुत परेशान करते रहते हैं और आगे चलाने लगाते हैं. अभी 74वां वेबिनार किस विषय पे होगा ये सर से आप पूछ लेना, और वो भी अपन करेंगे. तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद
पर्यंत पोहोचणं शक्य झालं सर.
हा, सरांमुळेच आपण 73 पार पाडू शकलो, अन्यथा पाडू शकलो नसतो. खूप खूप धन्यवाद सरांना, आणि तुम्हाला पण, आणि सर्वांना परत एकदा धन्यवाद. ओव्हर टू यू.
थँक्यू सर. थँक्यू.
Ronki Ram is not there.
No sir.
He's got dealing.
No, Ronki Ram is not here now.
Okay.
Okay sir. Shall I end meeting?
I think so.
Yes. Thank you sir.
Okay Vidya. Okay.
Okay sir.
Hazare, okay, Gautam Kamble. See you next week.
Thank you sir.
Thank you.